Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me in this video. Today I'm going to be breaking down some key terms and phrases that I like to use in relationships to training. So that way when we're doing the group exercises or one-on-ones, you start to at least have an understanding or comprehension of some of the things that I'm saying, so it's not completely foreign to you. And that way, if there are things that I'm saying that you don't remember, you can go back and listen to it in this video here. So there are 7 components of things that I'm going to bring to your attention here in this video. The one thing we're going to talk about is columns. The second thing we're going to talk about is second toe straight ahead. We're going to talk about inside ankle bone high. We're going to be talking about pressure waves, 45 degree, or 22.5 one way, 22.5 the other way, a 45 degree pressure wave. We're going to be talking about back chain dominance. And then ultimately what I'm going to be having us talk about here is breath. So on that, let's get going. So the first thing we're going to be talking about here is foot placement. So when you hear me say things like second toe straight ahead, I'm specifically talking about our second toe. Now a lot of times people will turn their toes out like this and they'll collapse those arches. This is what a collapsed arch looks like, and this is where the pressure is for people in that collapsed arch. What we're going to focus on is learning how to get those toes, that second toe straight ahead, because this will ultimately lead to what we call inside ankle bone high. We want this going up on an angle. This is inside ankle bone high. Inside ankle bone low, inside ankle bone high. And what you'll see with that that inside ankle bone high is the weight is distributed on the balls of our feet on the 4th, 5th. That 4th, 5th right down here, and it's forward on that point. That is called our pivot point. Within our pivot point, this will allow us to create the natural spiral up the ankle and then sending that energy over to this side, as we will get into these pressure waves here shortly. But again, the first thing is second toe straight ahead, which will actually feel like your feet are turned in a little bit. And it's going to then go into inside ankle bone high. You'll hear me say inside ankle bone high, second toe straight ahead a lot. What I will also bring to your attention is about a knuckles width apart. We're not always going to be here, but this is what I mean by a knuckles width apart. That is something else that we will be bringing to the conversation. You will also hear me say, weight forward, weight is back, weight is forward, light heels. This is something I will say a lot of, is light heels, is feeling the weight fairly light here. The next thing we're going to be talking about here is called columns. Now, as you can see, we have my right column and we have my left column. A lot of times when we're moving, most people, because of our feet turned out, not able to utilize these pivot points, what starts to happen is that we aren't able to shift energy from side to side. What ends up happening for a lot of us is that our energy in the upper body stays right in the middle, or it will favor a side. So every step or every turn is one side is taking on most of the tension. So when we're moving through this, you will hear me talk about going into our left column, just essentially getting over our left leg. That nose is over that foot, or I'll say get into that right column. Nose gets over that foot. On top of that second toe straight ahead, inside ankle bones high, and then this will lead into a strong column shift, shifting into our column. Now with our columns, our inside ankle bone high, pushing off of those pivot points, that 4th, 5th metatarsal on the ball of our feet, as well as second toe straight ahead, what we're going to talk about now is called back chain dominance. Now in society, most people are like this, slouching. Everything is in this forward position. It's this. And what's happening is the hips are rolling underneath. That is called the front chain position, or front chain dominant. We want to get into a back chain dominant. What that means is as I'm here, I'm able to get weight forward, my butt back, and learning how to be here. Now from a tall position, back chain. There's a lot of ways we can be back chain. And what it's doing is when we get into that back chain position, it's allowing us to maintain the entirety of our back, our glutes, our lower back, our middle back, where a lot of people have a lot of tension or a lot of issues, as they have expressed to me in my training, as well as just people reaching out in regards to more information. What that also helps is for a lot of people who are in this slouch position, that lengthening, we need to learn how to control not only the lengthening aspect, but control the contraction aspect as well. So when you hear me say we're going to get into a back chain, what I'm ultimately telling us is to get that tailbone up. We want to find a tailbone up position, because what that will allow us to do is will allow us to actually create that natural curvature of the lower back. And by creating that lower back curvature that is natural in all of us, what we're going to start to do is create actually what's a decompression of the lower back, which will also help up the chain into our middle back and to our upper back. So when you hear me say back chain, it's the difference between this in this curling motion. Tailbone is driving down and in, tailbone is driving up. We want to start getting into a back chain position as we stand, and I will be doing more videos on that specifically. But now to the next thing. So the next thing here is called pressure waves. We want to go into what's these pressure waves. So all these pieces are leading to this here, and as well as the breath. Is that when we're in our pressure wave, essentially what's happening is when I'm in a forward motion, we're locomotive beings. Everything is in a forward motion. Animals, babies, other life that is in motion. There is this forward motion. Wind even. When you watch the ocean waves, everything is in this perpetual state of forward motion. But that forward motion is through these oscillations or these spirals that occur. Don't believe me? Go watch the waves for a couple minutes. You're going to see them roll in. You're going to see them roll out. So with that in mind, we move that way too. And what I'm going to show you here is this. A pressure wave is essentially, as I put my weight into this forward leaning foot, I have all this energy from my second toe straight ahead, my inside ankle bone high, my weight is in this column, I'm in my back chain, and what I'm doing then is I'm loading my energy into that. I'm from my foot coiling up into that left side or right side of my body. And as you can see, I'm getting into a 22.5 degree angle this way, a 22.5 degree angle this way, a 22.5 degree angle this way. This back leg is cornering because all this energy is loading into this pressure wave. All this energy is ready to then load it, send it over to this side as the energy goes into this column. My weight is over this foot, toe straight ahead, inside ankle bone high. I'm loading into this hip. This leg is driving in this direction because I'm pushing off my pivot point as I then send it to this side. As we move through those pressure waves, we're essentially just going coil to the right, send it to the left side and coil there. Coil to the left, back to the right. We're just like a wave, sending waves in, sending waves out in opposite directions. When we don't have that efficient pressure wave, meaning if I'm taking a step and I go here and this is going like this and this leg is turned here and I'm running and I'm driving like this, we're not sending waves side to side. We're not creating this oscillation, the natural flow of the body. And when we aren't doing that, what starts to happen is the body communicates that back to us. And it will communicate it into us by pain, by some sort of skin issues. It can be responded in so many different ways because that flow, those pressure waves, that movement, combined with our breath, the slowing of the breath, the controlling of the breath under stress, will lead to a place where our body can efficiently not only absorb what it needs, but release what it doesn't need. Because when you understand that the skin is a massive part of the kidneys and everything else, where it's a detoxer, it's trying to remove what it can from the body, what you start to realize is that when we're not sweating, we're not moving efficiently, we're not breathing, another way of ridding the body of what it doesn't need, a lymphatic release, let's just say. you start to realize that that builds up in the body. It starts to create its own way of trying to basically combine it and get it out of the way so it's not causing more problems. So we need those pressure waves. We need that flow to help literally the flow of absorption and release or detoxification. And this all comes back to, again, how we move, how we breathe, how we think. So I want to just try to make this all as clear as possible in this video. So again, we have second toe straight ahead. We have weights on that fourth, fifth ball of the foot, not so heavy on the heels. We have our inside ankle bones high. We have our back chain position, meaning tailbone's poking up rather than tucking underneath. We have columns, our left column. We have our right column. And with those columns, we create what we call a pressure wave. Pressure wave to the left, pressure wave to the right. We're just sending energy back and forth, back and forth. And as we're doing that, we're creating these spirals, these oscillations. So that is today's video. I hope that helps. Again, these are going to be key terms and words that I will use in our next videos and obviously the workouts themselves. Thank you.